Hello, I'm here today to talk about the ACT English test with you. As I go along the PowerPoint, I'd like you to take notes, please. Just write down brief little sentences or facts that will help you on the ACT test that you're going to be taking next week or whenever you're going to be taking it. So we're going to start off with ACT English. So I'm going to talk a little bit about 3 things that you need to know about the ACT English test. First of all, the ACT is very strict about redundancy, which basically means repetitiveness. Never let a passage repeat itself. Now let's say it again. The same thing shouldn't be said more than once in a passage. So if you're reading a passage, it shouldn't say the same thing over and over and over again, or even more than once for that matter. So this is the typical redundancy, repetitiveness. Okay, next thing you need to know is the ACT is very strict about verbosity, which means wordiness. The best way to write is the shortest way, as long as the short way that you write doesn't violate the rules of writing mechanics, that is, grammar or punctuation, or contain vulgarities or inappropriate language that we wouldn't normally use in school. So just use common sense with that and do not get vulgar and start swearing, the ACT, because that will not result in a good score. The ACT is very strict about relevance. The ideas that are not directly and logically tied in with the purpose of the passage should be removed. So if you are talking about elephants and then you start going off on a rant about lions, that's not going to cut it. So you need to make sure that what you're saying in your passage that you write, you don't want to go off on a tangent about something else when you're talking about one topic and then go off and talk about another. So let's continue. Okay, I'm going to give you some tips now. So the first tip I'm going to give you is if you don't know whether an idea is redundant, which means repetitive, it probably is, so take it out. If you don't know whether a certain way to say things is verbose, it probably is, so take it out. If you don't know whether an idea is relevant, it probably isn't, so take it out. In other words, when in doubt, take it out. So if you're not sure of something, in your writing or whatever, just don't put it in. Just take it right out. Don't even bother. So if you're ever in doubt, just take it out. Okay. The next tip. If you can't solve certain questions or don't have time for the remaining questions, choose the shortest answer, because the shortest answer is frequently your best bet. Some questions only contain the omit choice, and that is apparently the shortest one. As a matter of fact, omit has a higher correct rate than any other choices. So if you're ever in doubt, the situation where you have omit and you're like totally blank and unclear, just put down omit as your choice in the multiple choice portion. Tip 3. Before you start working on the questions, you should take a few seconds skimming the paragraph. Skimming means kind of looking over and reading through it a little bit to get the idea of what it's about. You need to get a sense of how it's shaped and what it's about. When you have a general sense of the context, you'll find it easier to correct the underlined portions. You can do this either paragraph by paragraph or passage by passage. Try both ways to find out which one works better for you. So always skim to try to get an idea of what the paragraph is about and everything. And you want to keep in mind that context, basically what context means is, where it's from, what it's talking about, what the passage is talking about. Okay, tip 4. When you approach each question, ask yourself, does this belong here? Check redundancy, verbosity, and relevance. Okay, number 2. Does this make sense? Check logic. Ask yourself the question, does this make sense? Does this sound like proper English? Check the grammar. Read it over and over again if you have to see if it makes sense. If you can answer yourself, you get the answer to use the question. If you can't answer yourself, use tip 1 and 2 that we talked about before. You can always scroll back and to take a look at those if you need to. As a matter of fact, I encourage you to do that because that's the whole purpose of this video. When I'm going over this, you can read through this as much as you want. You don't have to worry about a teacher going over and over it with you again. You can access it from home, and you get to use YouTube during class. Okay, tip 5, pace yourself. There are going to be 75 questions to be answered in 45 minutes. Averagely, one question needs 36 seconds. Now, you're not going to take 36 seconds answering all questions. It's not going to be like 36 seconds. Oh, answer the question. 36 seconds. Answer the question. 36 seconds. Answer the question. It's not going to work like that. So what you need to do is you need to average 36 seconds. Like one question might take a minute and a half. Another one might take half a minute, which is 30 seconds. So it all depends. The time is definitely not much. You may get extended time, though, if you end up with a different test, with an alternate test. But anyway, it doesn't matter. You're going to have a time limit, so you need to be aware of that. You're going to have so many questions to answer in so many minutes. So just keep that in mind. You should set your speed limit and keep moving. Don't spend too much time puzzling out certain questions that you lose time to find the answer to other ones. Keep track of time during the test. You should develop the habit of occasionally checking your progress through the test so that you know where you are, 1/4 or 1/2 or however far you are through the test and the time allotted for a section. And when you have 5 minutes left. The teacher will tell you when you have 5 minutes left, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, just as a final reminder. Finally, remember that the ACT doesn't punish wrong answers, so don't leave anything blank or you'll waste your points. So let's say the teacher says, you have 5 minutes left of this test, and you have a bunch of blank answers. The best thing to do is just to bubble in random bubbles, or pick a bubble to random. Like, let's say answers 55 through 75 are blank. You've gotten that far. What you can do is just bubble in all the A's, all the B's, all the C's, all the D's, or you can just bubble in whatever you want. But you get penalized for leaving the answers blank. So don't ever leave them blank. I mean, fill in something. Even if it's just a random bubble you fill in, it's better than not filling in anything at all. I hope that this was helpful, and I look forward to seeing your notes and hearing your feedback about this. Just remember the tips that I gave you when you're taking the ACT, and you'll do all right.